All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Due to the governor's statewide disaster declaration relating to the COVID-19 pandemic and current public health guidelines for social distancing, I've determined that it's not prudent for the members of the village board or staff to convene in person for tonight's meeting. Therefore, the members of the village board are attending this meeting by video conference. Those same conditions requiring barring access to the village hall for in-person attendance. In light of those limitations, the public's invited to attend and listen to the meeting through the Zoom platform or by the phone as indicated in the meeting agenda. To comply with the Open Meetings Act requirements for virtual meetings, tonight's meeting is being recorded. I feel like I'm getting Donald Duck sounds back to me, but maybe it's just me. Village Clerk Schmidtke, can you take roll call and make sure everyone can be heard?
Sure. Trustee Borowski, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Trustee Kritzmeyer, can you hear me? Not here yet.
No, she's not here yet. Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Michaud, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you.
Thanks.
Trustee O'Connor, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Trustee O'Reilly, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Trustee Tanucci, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
All right. We're all here except for Ann, but she'll be here shortly. So the first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with
liberty
liberty and
and
justice
justice for
for all.
All right, welcome to the first meeting of the year. We have on the agenda the homeowners associations visiting tonight from Promontory Point. Do we have Maury Glicksman here? Hold on a second, I got the wrong agenda in front of me. Let's try that again. Let's try from Oak Islands, Gary Lundgren. Let's try that. Let's try that again. Sherman's Pine Valley, Stuart Osserman. Okay, surely Susan Klein is here from Salem on the Lake. All right, I guess not. We'll move right along to public comment. Does anyone have any public comment?
I do.
Mike, I thought you might.
This is a letter I am sending to Mr. Osman at IDOT, and normally I want to read this into the minutes. So I would, if we were meeting live, I would give a copy of the letter to the village clerk. I can drop off this letter at the village hall tomorrow, but I wanted to read it into the minutes. And so I'm just simply going to read this letter to Mr. Osman. The intention of this letter is to possibly save a life and hopefully prevent yet another terrible auto accident on westbound Illinois Route 53 approaching Shiloh Drive in Long Grove. Passing through Long Grove, Route 53 is a two-lane highway with a number of curves. The most hazardous of these curves occurs on westbound Route 53 approaching Shiloh. The speed limit posted directly before this curve is 45 miles an hour. That speed limit is much too fast to be safe. Serious accidents repeatedly occur when westbound cars traveling at that speed or faster round the curve and suddenly encounter a stopped vehicle waiting to turn left onto Shiloh. Last fall, there were 3 multiple vehicle accidents at this location, resulting in serious injuries. Eventually, someone is going to die. We'd like to suggest an inexpensive solution that may remedy this glaring safety hazard. Replacing the aforementioned 45-mile-an-hour sign with one that reads, "Dangerous curve, reduce speed 35 miles per hour," or something similar. Immediately after the curve, the speed limit could, and presently does, post 45 miles an hour. Thank you for reading our recommendation. We await your reply. I might add, this is also from my neighbor, Carlos. And I have a note at the bottom. A related note for comparison. We're puzzled by this glaring paradox. On 4-lane Route 22 west of Interstate 94, where the highway is straight as an arrow for many miles, the posted speed limit is 35 miles an hour. On 2-lane Route 53, which has multiple curves through Long Grove, the posted speed limit is 45 miles an hour. We believe this inconsistency warrants an explanation. And that is our letter. And if there are no comments, then I guess I'll just say goodbye. But I did want to share that with those of you who may not drive down 53 as much as I do. In fact, Carlos's home and our home are on that curve. And so we're hearing multiple collisions through. In fact, I mentioned the 3 collisions last fall. They were all within about a 4-week period. And one nearly crashed into the fence in front of my yard. And who knows, at some point, because the car's approaching the curve and needing to stop, veer off the road and into the ditch in front of our house. And so it is a hazard, and that's why I wanted to share that with you all. And if you have no comments about that or want to suggest anything to me, I'd be happy to hear it. Otherwise, I'll just say goodbye.
Well, and hold on a second, because I think we were doing we asked the state to do a speed study, Jeff, right? This may be a perfect time to pipe in. Whatever happened with that, the traffic study?
Yeah, I think they concluded their speed study, Bill, and concluded that the speed limit was appropriate.
Okay.
I'll find that speed study and recirculate it.
Okay, thank you.
I might add that the speed limit is appropriate for stretches of 53, but for that curve, the fact that there's the speed limit sign is 45 miles an hour, right going into the westbound curve approaching Shiloh. And so people who are not familiar with the highway and with that curve simply just do 45 or even faster. And then are surprised when there's a car stop right in front of them and they have to veer off the road. And actually there was the last accident was a 3-car accident involving 3 cars with airbags going off, and it was a very serious accident. So I'm not suggesting that 45 miles an hour for all of 53 is not appropriate, but for this particular curve, I think it is.
I think when you add a semi coming around that curve at God only knows what speed, it's not a pretty picture.
No, it's not. And simply, I mean, there's a simple solution to that, and that is where that 45-mile-an-hour speed limit sign is posted before the curve. That's simply, I think there's another sign down 53 farther east that says that's something about a curve and reduced speed, but simply a sign that cautions drivers to reduce speed going around that curve, or something like I suggested, or anything similar, I think would be appropriate.
Thanks for that comment. I'm going to ask Village Manager Jackson too to potentially follow up as well, right? Once we get the letter.
Absolutely. I would also suggest to Michael that submitting that letter or carbon copying the state representative and the state senator might serve him well.
Okay, I will do that.
Notice after we asked them to do that speed study, Jeff, that,
I can't hear you.
oh yeah, good Lord, nobody's ever said that before. All right, so mine's all the way up. Is that better?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, so after we asked them to do that speed study, I noticed that eastbound from Menards, they reduced the speed limit from 45 to 40. But then as you get closer to Arborea, it's 45 again. And I have no idea why they did that, but I live down near you, Mike, and you're right, you know, it is dangerous there. Even if they could put, you know, a flashing sign with caution turning vehicles ahead, you know. something
Yes,
like
and
that.
I might add that westbound traffic through this section of 53 in our neighborhood is not a problem. It's the I'm sorry, the eastbound traffic. It's the westbound traffic that that needs to reduce speed when they go around that curve.
People have a hard time staying on their own side of the road on that street.
Well, living right off the road, I'm certainly aware of that.
Yeah, it's just weird.
I hear the crashes too.
Yes.
Hey,
In
Mike,
fact,
is
there's-
this, hey, I'm sorry, is this enforcement issue or is it, I mean, our sheriff's on the line with us right now. If we position a car and patrol car there and pound it pretty hard for a while, will that help?
No, I don't think so. I think just a sign with the reduced speed, dangerous curve or something that could be attached and would not be very expensive. That could be attached to these replacing the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit sign. I think posting a car there just would work for the time being, but long range, I think people need to know to reduce speed when they go around that curve.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mike, do you think one of those mirrors might help? Like, is it at the right angle? Because those situations are very scary. When you are that person and you're watching your rear view mirror and there's a semi coming and they can't stop, like maybe if you went to go look to see if at some point you could put one of those mirrors, that way people would see what's coming.
I think those mirrors work for tighter curves. This is not a real tight curve. It's just that it's a broad curve, and as vehicles go into that curve westbound, they can be blindsided by the car stop. And sometimes there's a car stop to turn left onto Shiloh, and there are a number of cars behind it. So positioning a mirror, I don't think would solve that problem. I think just simply a cautionary sign that says reduce speed, dangerous curve, or reduce speed, whatever the case might be. I don't know. There are probably some standard signs that they could just replace replace that 45-mile-an-hour speed limit sign with, I think would be a solution.
Mike, thank you for your feedback. I'm going to keep us moving.
Okay. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Yep, thank you. Any other public
Thanks,
comment?
Mike.
If not, I'm going to move us along to the public safety reports. I see a few folks here. We'll start with Sergeant Ryan Amber, who's got his beard going. It's a new look.
Yeah, giving it a shot. I'm about to give up on it though. It's getting itchy.
Got it. Well, looks good from here.
How have you guys been? It's been a while.
We've missed you.
Yeah. I'm in a court system for the winter while the boats are put away. So I'm there till about March, and then I'll be back out on the water. So.
Got it. Do you have anything for us tonight? Yeah.
No new news. I think the biggest things I've been in touch with Greg were about some of the burglaries we had near the homes on the golf course in Royal Melbourne. I haven't had any reports of any further ones here in the last couple of weeks, but I was informed, I think, that some other towns are having similar issues. Buffalo Grove maybe had a few in proximity to a golf course. So it looks like that's kind of the MO of these guys, is to travel by golf course. But now with the snow and the icy snow, they're probably hanging it up here for a little while. It's not as easy, and they can be tracked a little bit easier.
Sergeant Amber, do we know if all those homes were, I know a lot of them were vacant at the time or people out of town. Does House Watch help? Do we have any data that would support having our residents make sure they're implementing the House Watch deal when they're out of town?
Data as far as
whether or not it works,
Well,
I mean,
put it this way: if your house watch
right.
is on your house and it's not broken into, I guess it works.
It's good, right? But like the homes that were broken in, I thought I read that a couple of them were not on House Watch or didn't have it set up.
Most people don't use that feature that we offer, and we've had that for the 24 years I've been here. And I always encourage people, if you're going to go out of town, whether it's for 2 days or 2 weeks, just give us a call. We put your name on the list there. The guys can pull it up from their computer, and when they have downtime during their shift, they make the rounds and go and check them.
Yeah, no, I knew you were going to say that, and I was kind of leading up to maybe Trustee O'Reilly. Maybe it's something we could put into a publication to remind folks that we had that.
Good idea.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah, you know,
that was my setup for the night. That was it. I'm done. That was it.
You could have just suggested it to me.
I think one of those houses had been hit twice, which was unusual. It had been hit twice, so I don't know what's going on with that, if they knew that or what. But I don't like to say I hear it happening in other towns as well, but it hopefully gives you guys some relief that it's not just your neighborhood.
Could I ask you what I hope to be an easy answer?
Of course, I like a challenging one.
Okay. In 2021, you did 164 hours of radar enforcement.
Okay.
I don't know what percentage you catch in that, but my question is, are those people that get caught in that enforcement county, the county prosecutes them and keeps the fine? Is that correct?
No, if the contract car that's in Long Grove, assigned to Long Grove, writes a speeding ticket or any other citation in the village of Long Grove, they should be assigning it to the Long Grove court date at the Mundelein branch court. Now, those tickets, any fines that are received from that, the process should be they go through your village, yeah. Rather than if we write a ticket in an unincorporated area, like let's say, Diamond Lake and 6083, right, outside of town there, then that would be where it goes, gets divvied up amongst all the county divisions.
Okay, that's.
Now, on the flip side of that, though, let's say that the Long Grove car is tied up.
It's supposed to be simple, Ryan.
Yeah, no, but if it's, let's say, like after 11 p.m. and a deputy is on patrol down in the Long Grove area and catches a speeder, I can't guarantee that deputy writes the ticket under, Long Grove specifically, because they're not assigned to Long Grove during that time.
He might be on county time rather than.
It could be, yeah, or, he doesn't realize he's technically within the village limits and, like 53 and Shiloh there, for example, he might catch a speeder coming around the curve, write the ticket, but it's not necessarily due to, like, when we get traffic complaints from you guys and we sit on those areas to try to do some enforcement and write tickets, those guys know to write them to Long Grove.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ryan?
It's my 7-year anniversary with you guys this week.
Hey, congratulations.
That's looking back, it's gone pretty quick.
Well, especially if you're out on the boat.
True. Very true.
Well,
if anything, as always, if you guys need anything, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always available for you guys.
Ryan, thanks for making it here tonight. Appreciate it.
Ryan.
You're welcome. Take care.
Okay, we've got another guest tonight, the new Long Grove Fire Chief, Paul Segala. Did I say that right, Paul?
Yes, you did.
Excellent. Thanks for being here. Good to see you.
You're very welcome. Well, I was obviously hoping that we'd do this in person, but we'll make the best of it with a virtual appearance.
Yeah, we're kind of done with this COVID thing, but
Right.
we got to keep doing it for a little while anyways, right?
We do, yeah. So I have a few things just to kind of recap our year for you. And we did have a little bump with COVID amongst our employees from the holidays on to now, but we're on a good streak now. The last 5 days, we haven't had anyone positive and they're returning to work. So we're feeling much better about that, hopefully over the hump. So for 2021, the district had its busiest year ever. We had a total of 1,840 incidents, which averages just a little over 5 calls a day for us. And that's a 12% increase over 2020. Our average response time was 4 minutes and 22 seconds. And about a quarter of those incidents occurred at the nursing homes in Long Grove. About 20% of our calls are simultaneous alarms, meaning that another call comes in while our resources are already committed. And that's the beauty of our automatic aid system and having the regional response. We have excellent working relationships with our neighbors. So I know that you guys routinely probably see fire apparatus here from Buffalo Grove and from Countryside, even Palatine and Lake Zurich. It's pretty common that those resources are also here helping us out. 75% of our EMS incidents were handled by mutual aid ambulances. And we had a very productive year in training. We were able to accomplish 5,262 hours of training, which is about 250 hours per person. And we had a lot of our employees that attained some advanced certifications in firefighting, rescue, and specialized operations. We also had a very busy year in fire prevention and life safety, averaging about 209 events monthly that include inspections, public education sessions, plan reviews, and other related activities. So just kind of in a nutshell, that's a brief overview of how we did last year, but we were able to pull those together and give you that report for this month.
Yeah, thank you for that report. So you've been on the job, what, 2 months now, 3 months?
Not even yet, but on the 15th, it'll be 2 monts.
2 months.
So I started
Wow, okay.
November 15th.
Got it. So what do you think of Long Grove?
I love it. It's a great little place. I mean, I grew up here, but grew up on the south side and then worked in the west suburbs. I always knew of Long Grove, had been here several times, but being here now, it's a whole new challenge and I really like it a lot.
Well, welcome. Welcome.
Thank
We're
you.
happy to have you.
Good to be here.
Trustee Kritzmeyer has a question.
Just quickly, thank you for that report. Are any of those things, are there things that you target going forward or just simply things you report looking backward?
I think it's going to be a little bit of both. We're going to try and be proactive and maybe work with some of the nursing homes and see if there's a way that we can, work with them to maybe prevent some of those incidents from happening. Particularly, we respond to falls there and we consider that a preventable injury. So if there's a way we can help their staff, learn a little bit more about safe patient handling or even work with the actual residents, try and help them with that. That is one of the areas that we're going to try and target this year. Beyond that, our normal fire prevention efforts probably a little bit diminished this past year just because we haven't been out in the public as much as we normally would be. So that's certainly one of our efforts for the future as well, to strengthen that public education and fire prevention effort.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Hi. So I read recently that the Lake County Board is considering prohibiting open burning in unincorporated Lake County. Is the Long Grove Fire Protection District considering reducing or restricting prescribed burning within Long Grove?
I think we're going to follow the county's lead on that. We don't have a lot of muscle behind that, but we try and work with the residents. We get notified and we make sure that we follow up and check on those to see when the open burn permits have been issued.
So there's a possibility that prescribed burning may no longer be allowed in Long Grove if the Lake County Board decides to not allow it within unincorporated Lake County?
Say anything is possible. That would be up to our Board of Trustees. But I think if the county sets the tone for that, I would think that would help.
Yeah, but don't we have jurisdiction over that? I don't know that it's the fire department.
It's probably a village, yeah.
It's a village decision.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Reason why I was asking is because when I was in the Park District, we had to go to the fire department to get a permit for prescribed burning. So I was mostly wondering if the fire department would consider no longer issuing those burn permits, irregardless of what the village may or may not do. Or will the fire department just go along with whatever the village decides?
Hey, Vic, you're here. Do you want to weigh in just real quick? You're muted, by the way.
To say that was a lengthy discussion at some other meeting, Kent, before you were here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The village does have overlapping jurisdiction with the fire department. One of the things that we have is the ability to regulate air quality, and we can do so by prohibition or not of that. Because of the fire protection aspect of this, we have traditionally worked with the fire department because they're the ones that have the direct oversight. So, in some communities where the staff may be larger, or where the fire department is part of the community as opposed to a separate governmental entity, it's a less, it's a more straightforward issue. Here, because the responsibilities and the capabilities are separate, the tradition in Long Grove has always been to coordinate with the fire department.
Okay.
If I may add, last fall, we worked with the fire department in having a class for residents to learn the proper way to burn what they need to burn. And the kind of the side result of that was that several people, after listening, there was somebody from, I don't know if it was McGinty or someone else who does burns. They all had a chat outside about coming in and giving them a quote for somebody else to do it. But I would hope that the fire department would agree to run that class again in the spring, so that residents know what they should do and know their limitations.
Great suggestion. We'll take you up on that.
Good.
Assuming we can do it in person.
Good.
I
Thank
hope
you.
so. Any other comments for our new chief?
Mr. President, just to let you know, myself and Paul are getting together next week and doing a face-to-face, and even with COVID, we'll distance and mask, but we're gonna face-to-face and just talk about intergovernmental relations between us and the fire district. So we had a good relationship with Ken Riddle, and I'm sure it's going to be just as good, if not better, with Paul.
Excellent. Well, welcome, Paul. Welcome to
welcome.
Long Grove. We're happy to have you.
Good to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the village engineers report. Engineer Perry, Village Engineer Perry, you want to take this over?
Absolutely, thank you. So my engineer's report is in the board packet. I'll just take a few minutes to kind of highlight and go through that. The first couple items are the active construction projects, the Stemple parking lot and the Robert Parker Coffin Road. I say active as there's still work on both of those. However, not much has happened over the last couple weeks due to time of the year and the weather, but we're still pursuing getting those projects complete as the weather allows. The next handful of items are in, I would say, internal discussion, if you will, before they get presented to the board. Those are Lake Michigan water connection, the overheight detection system, the Checker Road traffic calming, and the plan for the 2022 road maintenance program. Over the next week and a half, there'll be several conversations between myself and Manager Jackson, and then the village president and trustee involved in the various projects before presenting those to the board. Those could start coming to the board in 2 weeks, so be ready for those. Number 7 on the list, and Vic, I'm going to ask you to kind of jump in on this one, is the Lake Eleanor Estates drainage project. A couple board meetings ago, there was some discussion about using the village resources to help on this drainage project, which is primarily on Lake Eleanor Estates, which is privately owned and maintained both the storm sewer and the roadways. So Vic, I understand you had some comments in response to the discussion a couple board meetings ago.
Yeah, I believe I said at that time that this doesn't really pose any real concern in terms of the constitutional limitation about public funds for private purposes. That requirement is one that prohibits the use of public resources when it's exclusively for private benefit. the fact that there may be incidental or private benefit is not going to be a constitutional or legal problem. It does create the policy question to be considered by this board, but it's not a legal issue in that regard. With respect to this particular project, as with almost all drainage, the Illinois Drainage Code recognizes that drainage is not a condition of a single property, but affects properties both upstream and downstream from each other, and that the Illinois Drainage Code actually allows natural rights of access to others' properties if necessary to maintain certain drainage ways. So I think stormwater management is certainly one of those things which is intrinsically public. So when we look at this question and whether or not the village should be expending any revenues on it, it's really a matter of policy choice, not a matter of legal ability to do so or not.
So I guess President Bill, I'd be looking for just consensus to continue to our discussions and our efforts to assist Lake Eleanor Estates with the Stormwater Infrastructure Repair Fund grant application, which is administered through the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission for the repair and improvement of their drainage situation.
Well, let's just ask the board really quick. Any concerns with this? Anyone?
Since I was the one that brought it up, I think I'll respond in several ways. I didn't think it was illegal. I thought it was a policy issue that it is a very slippery slope because of the number of drainage ways, the number of ponds we have, both private and public. And if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. So we should make it public that we will be more than willing to have our staff solve your drainage and pond problems. We may want to even get into the control of the ponds so that they have a higher water integrity. And one of the reasons that this particular one is a little bit irksome is that for decades, this subdivision has been so proud of their very low, if many years, no monthly or annual fee. So they went on the cheap, and now we're going to help them solve what they did on the cheap. So I'm all for helping people out that need it, and if we're going to do this for them, we need to get prepared to do it for others, in a sense of fairness.
Well, so this is the uniqueness of our village, right? So having come from a HOA that's, has to maintain all our wetlands and everything else, just because they're privately maintained, if you will, right? But they're part of the stormwater management system of Lake County. I believe in some of these scenarios, and maybe they didn't do all the proper maintenance initially, but if we're helping them gain funding, I don't know how much engineering time we're spending and what this is going to cost. I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, because
I think it is a good thing.
Oh, okay, good. Because if it was in a
I just want to make sure we know the slope.
Oh, I got it.
The slope that's coming.
We could be opening the floodgates. No pun intended.
Well, there you go. Geez, Kent. No, but I think that that we've got some other developments where we've got some challenges, and yeah, some of them are some really interesting situations, just because the way they did the homeowners association, the property owners that are adjacent to the ponds own those ponds, and it makes it more difficult to get funding from the whole community to fix those some of those wetlands. So I don't know what we're spending here, and I think that's something that we should probably understand, but I would hope that we would help them and other residents, if possible, but wouldn't be huge dollars out of our pocket, hopefully, right?
Well, just so our eyes are open, that's all I'm asking.
Got it.
Because of the fairness of private versus public. I have a public road, you have a private road. There is no equity in that at
Totally
all.
none, right?
And someday, some board is going to have to deal with that. But not today.
Yep.
Can I interject, if I may? And I'm going to speak from a budget standpoint that, I think these are services that, we should be able to provide to everybody, as both President Jacob and Trustee O'Reilly have stated. Again, we need to have eyes open, because every dollar we spend on this going forward, that is especially not a budgeted dollar, we're taking it from other services within the village. Now, whether that may be a road repair, tree trimming, ice mitigation, snow removal. And I'm not suggesting we have to come up with any type of solution or a potential model to recoup costs right here. But unless we budget something at the beginning of the fiscal year or for the beginning of the fiscal year, those dollars are going to need to come from somewhere. And we just need to be cognizant of that, which I'm sure the board is.
Okay, so what is the dollar amount we're talking about here, Jeff, to complete the grant request? I mean, approximate.
Yeah, for the grant request, I'd say probably a couple $1,000s. The big expense is going to come when they actually have to design and get a permit for their improvement.
But we're not going to have anything to do with that. We're just helping them try to get public funding.
Oh, there's a slope there. There's a slope
The
there. Be
assistance.
careful, Bill.
Yeah, so yes, that's been the discussions that we're providing with them to provide assistance for them to get the grant. So yes, that's the other part, just to make sure, and I'll do that the next time I talk to them, that, hey, this is where we're going. Now it's when you have to do the detailed design, the nuts and bolts of your engineering plan and get your permits, that's going to be the responsibility of the owner of the project, which would be Lake Eleanor Estates.
Right.
Well, so let me ask the question another way too, because, we have an engineer that we work with, right? We contract for services. Would this HOA be able to contract for the grant, or would it be difficult without having the village behind it? In other words, I hire a private engineer to go fill the grant out. They pay for that to fill the grant request out. Would they be able to do it, or is it because the village is doing it? Is it easier for them to get potentially easier to get the funding because we're behind it?
It's potentially easier to get the funding. The Lake County Stormwater Management Commission has granted monies to HOAs in the past, but they always, if the village has some involvement in it, which it always helps the project score better in their eyes on their scoring matrix.
Vic, let me ask this question. Vic, if we contract with the private sector and intergovernmental all the time, why can't the HOA contract with us?
They can certainly contract with the village to utilize Jeff's services as part of that.
Okay.
Problematic is that if it's a couple $1,000s, how many homes up there? 20, 25?
I mean, it would, it's not terribly different than our zoning applications when there's or any kind of permit application, that to the extent there are outside consultants on behalf of the village, the applicant has to reimburse the village. If the village wanted to have a similar arrangement here, it could certainly do so, assuming that the association itself is willing to carry that expense.
Offhand, to me, that sounds like a reasonable business transaction. They're making use of a private road community. Certainly has the ability to talk to our village engineer and get advice and input and so on and so forth. I think, however, when it comes to professional services, they could be purchased through a different engineering firm if they so chose, and they choose Gaybold Hamilton because Jeff is our engineer and so on and so forth. It seems to me it's much cleaner insofar as precedent setting and good business to say, okay, we can connect the two of you. We're happy to do that. For these services, you need to pay their hourly fee, whatever that amount is. And again, does anybody know how many homes are up there offhand?
I want to say about 30, Rita.
Okay, so that's less than $100 a home for the engineering, not the engineering, but for the village help on this. I have no objection to that. Does anybody else?
I think if I can offer this, I think we move forward with Lake Eleanor and as we move forward, allowing me to develop a model that I think would be suitable for us to provide the services we should be providing to the community, advice, direction, things of that nature, and things that we should just naturally do as a body of government. And then look at some way where we can minimize the impact of the cost. And just, I need to put some thought to that. And to be quite honest and candid, this has been tossing around, but I haven't applied myself to it yet.
Well, that makes sense to me. I agree. They live in our village and they should be able to avail themselves of our services. But when it comes to contractual kinds of things for their community only, I don't have a problem with saying, and I don't want to let them know this at the last minute, to just let them know that it's new territory for us somewhat, and we're discussing it and want to come up with something that's reasonable.
Okay. Everyone okay with that? Silence is yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Bobby, you mentioned an interesting point, the ongoing maintenance of stormwater systems, which in, my realm is both stormwater detention basins and wetlands. Not for comment or maybe discussion tonight, but something to think about as new subdivisions are proposed and discussed is what's called a backup SSA. That's becoming more popular, that at the time the subdivision is approved, you put the framework in for an SSA, you don't enact it, but the SSA is for the sole purpose that if the stormwater management system is not maintained, the village has a mechanism to A, do the work, and B, get paid to do that work, the maintenance of that. So something to consider moving forward. I just wanted to mention that in response. So moving along, the next update, item 9, the Robert Parker Coffin Bridge did get the American Public Works Association Project of the Year Award for the historical less than $5 million category. So there was to be an awards banquet in January, but that has been postponed to a date to be determined. I've talked to APWA and there's desire to have that meeting in person. So we'll see what the COVID numbers do over the next few weeks and when that thing gets scheduled. But I'll for sure keep the board apprised of that. Like I mentioned a couple meetings ago, a nice plaque and some recognition for the project is what we get out of it. So it's kind of moving through here. This was new today. Item 15 on the engineer's report is the Arlington Heights Road Reconstruction Project from Lake Cook Road to Route 83. Got a letter in the mail today that there's going to be a public information meeting on Thursday, January 27th from 5 to 7. That will be virtual. So they just asked that you sign up for that. I passed along the letter to Manager Jackson earlier today. It's got the information where to sign up if you want to attend the public meeting on the 27th. So just wanted to make sure
Jeff-
that
Just to be sure,
highlighted that.
you have to sign up in order to speak. Is that what you said?
They ask that you sign up so that way they can send you the Zoom information so
Okay.
that you can yeah, access that.
And what's the date?
January 27th from 5 to 7.
Okay.
Now, Jeff, is this just like the in-person meetings that they always have when they do the open houses where they put the storyboards up there and they explain
Yep.
the scope of the project?
Yep.
So now they're just doing it virtually. Is that really what this is?
Yep, that's exactly what this is.
Okay.
So
Okay, we'll be sure to get some
Yeah, get it out
publicity
there.
out on
Yeah,
that.
publicity. Good idea, Bobby. Yep.
And I'd almost suggest a constant contact on Country Club Estates and the southern part. I don't care about it, but I'm kidding. But people on the southern end have a more invested interest in it. Send it to everybody.
There's also a 2-week comment period, I believe, until the 11th, I believe.
Yeah, February 10th. Yeah, 2 weeks. Yep.
But we already provided public comment, right?
Yeah, so I want to attend this meeting and be sure that that was received and incorporated. If you remember a few months ago, the public comment, probably more than a few months ago, time's flying, sorry about that. But the village's primary comments were, you know, hey, don't forget about Arlington Heights Road and Lake Cook, which not in this scope of this project, but want to be on record with that. Sidewalk connections on the west side of Arlington Heights Road and pedestrian accommodations at the intersection of Arlington Heights and 83. Those were the 3 primary ones that stick out in my mind, but yeah, I want to make sure that those were heard and what the response by the county is to those.
Was there mention of a bridge? Did we ever mention the bridge for there?
I know that at the board meeting, we talked about the bridge, that underpass that floods.
No, I'm talking Rita's bridges. Did we?
Oh, a pedestrian overbridge?
Yes.
We did not make
include
that
on
comment
that
for this
one?
project.
Okay.
Okay, moving along, I jumped over it, I apologize. I do want to highlight number 12. There's some high pressure alarms lately over at the water treatment plant. We are waiting on parts for the contractor to come over and fix the solenoid on a valve and rebuild another one to take care of that problem. Unfortunately, you know, supply chain issues and things like that have, you know, caused us to operate that manually over the last month and a half. So hopefully, we talked to them today that they're looking to be out on site to do all of that next week to get the treatment plant back up and running automatically. So
Is that a big expense?
it's about 4 to 6 hours every week. It trips about every other day. So to manually operate it and get the reservoir to fill, that's the amount of time that it takes.
But is it to replace the part? It's not a very expensive part.
Oh,
right?
no. And actually the replacing that part is under $1,000, and we're combining that with fixing the mixing valve is what it's called, which is a budgeted item that we were going to replace anyway this year as part of the ongoing maintenance.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yeah. And just the last item, and Greg, I will ask for you to jump in on this one, is the berm. At the last board meeting, there was some discussion about the as-built and where we were going to take that, and the action item was for Village Manager Jackson to contact both the Grove and the contractor to move that forward. Greg, if I might, I'd just kick it over to you just to give the update on that.
I'm going to update the board, I'm going to have to get with Vic and have some further discussion. The attempts to get in contact with the management team at the Grove have been unsuccessful. We're not getting any return calls. We've had other issues we've tried to communicate with them on, property maintenance and some licensing issues that we're still slow in getting any return communication. So I need to spend a few minutes with Vic and potentially talk about our options for our further approach, because physical attempts to go to the facility as well as phone calls and emails have gone unanswered.
But is it true though that they're closed right now too, right?
They
2 months.
are, yeah, for that's correct. For 2 months, they have closed operations at the country club. I think they end of February, beginning of March, they said that they were going to open back up.
Okay. I hope we're not spending a big legal bill, but the conversation may not hurt, so.
So that concludes the run through that I had for tonight, but if there's any questions on any of the items, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions from the board? Rita, it looks like you're talking, but I can't hear you. Nope, can't hear Rita.
Oh,
Here we go.
lucky you.
Wasn't my lucky day, I guess, huh?
Oh, now you're much louder. So, okay. So am I okay? You hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, good. The speed bump, the Checker Road things that were in the packet, that's for our information, and we're gonna discuss that at a later date. Is that correct?
Right, and we're scheduling some meetings next week for that.
Okay, just clarify. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, I had one more after we talked this afternoon. When we know that we have mild weather days approaching, like as we are supposedly for tomorrow and Thursday, do the road folks, when they know that that's going to happen, are they of a mind to finish up projects like ours, or is it still not warm enough for them to finish our stuff up?
Depending on the work, they are mindful of that. In fact, the contractor for the path will be out at the intersection tomorrow to put in some temporary asphalt so that we can get IDOT's approval. I'm hopeful that they're able to do that since some of that I'm envisioning in my mind, it's under about 6 inches of ice. So we'll see if they're successful.
8 or 10.
Oh, oh boy. So yeah, it certainly did not warm up today like I had hoped it would.
No, but it was nice and sunny. Thank you.
Yep.
Just think we're getting closer to spring every day. All right. Any other questions for Jeff? Jeff's probably going to leave us early tonight. So.
Hi, Jeff.
All right, guys. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the meeting.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Bye.
Okay. So I don't see anyone from the Park District on the line tonight. We have the grant for the teasel removal by the Long Grove Park District. It's the same that we funded last year. They're spending like $15,000 for a company called Tallgrass. They are going and eradicating or trying to eradicate all the teasel along all of the village-owned county and state routes. So I'll open it up for discussion, or if Village Manager Jackson has anything else he wants to report on this.
Other than I submitted I added to the board package some communication from Trustee Tunucci, who was able to provide background, certainly as his past experience serving as the president of the Long Grove Park District, just to make sure that my comments on the manager's report were not misinterpreted, because that was not my intention. My concern with the money awarded for this grant has nothing to do with the grant itself as much as it has to do with the state and county government entities not stepping up and taking care of their responsibilities as it relates to maintaining state roads and county roads. And that if there is an opportunity on the part of the park district to seek out and secure, identify and qualify, and then secure additional funding to help further either ease the financial burden on the village or eradicate more areas with the teasel. That would be just a recommendation from an administrative standpoint.
All right, let me add to that, because then I fired back that I, because of OMA, I didn't want to copy the board, but we have a contractor, right? Mili, that we contract with to do the grass along 83, 22. When we renewed the contract with them, they're supposed to wash the blades before they move into our village and so forth to help prevent the spread of teasel. But my point in saying that out is that some of it could be our contractors spreading the seeds around via the lawnmower blades, which is the big way that stuff spreads. I know birds and things like that, but usually it comes from the blade of a lawnmower. So, Chris, did you have a comment? You raised your hand, or?
Well, yeah, I've been scratching my head all night, but I do have a comment. Maybe just a question. I guess I don't really have an objection to go ahead and do this. I struggle with the other invasive species, though. I mean, Rita brought up Phragmites, I don't know, 9 meetings ago, and looking around at the Phragmites invasion of Long Grove is really concerning to me. The buckthorn is pervasive in all of the scenic corridors very heavily. So why single out teasel? Why not have an overall comprehensive plan of attack for all of these invasives? Because to me, teasel is nasty. Of course, we got to get rid of it, but is it any less nasty than the Phragmites or the buckthorn that's invading? And what's our plan of attack for those as well? And my last thought of the day is goats. The goats.
I thought Bobby was going to bring that up.
Right?
I knew it was coming.
I tried to get them. I did try to get them.
I've been doing more research into it actually, and but goats will not completely eradicate Phragmites either, because goats don't like to go into very, very wet wetlands unless you force them to.
The problem with the goats is containing them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, or for dinner too if they get out, but okay, that's a little too tongue in cheek. But actually, that's what I think about. I mean, I have no problem with this 10 grand. I think it's well spent. I'm still troubled a little bit by it being the same park district that came after us for 5 grand on the Stemple right away. But I still think it's money well spent if we can get rid of something. But I mean, comprehensively, we need a plan for all the other stuff, because I think the buckthorn and the Phragmites are worse than the teasel is actually.
It's only January. I think Chris makes a really good idea. Is that because I personally think the Phragmites are worse than the teasel.
Yeah.
They seem to be progressing faster than the teasel. And I don't know who knows these things, and I don't know if you kill Phragmites the same way you do teasel, or if it's as complicated as teasel. I don't know that, and I'd like to know that. I'd also like to know, Ken, where's the cell tower?
Where's the cell tower? It is northeast of the corner of 83 and Gilmer, actually 83 and Oakwood. So if you look at the mitigation land that the park district will someday assume ownership of, it's just east of there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's by Gridley ball fields, which is not used as
okay. Okay.
So as far as Phragmites goes, one thing it has in common with teasel is it takes over an area and becomes a monoculture. So in that respect, it is at least as bad as teasel. Buckthorn's a little different situation, but also very bad. So they are treated differently. when I was still at the Park District, we were discussing with Tallgrass what they would do to treat what is beginning to grow in that mitigation land that I was just referring to. There's little bits of Phragmites starting to grow in there. So we were talking to them and saying we should get rid of this before it really takes hold. You treat it at a certain time of the year, which is not necessarily the same time that you treat teasel, and you do use a different chemical, not the same one that you use for teasel. The other thing that's going on with Phragmites is it's got the rhizomes, the roots under the ground. So we were talking about goats. If goats ate the tops of the Phragmites, I'm not sure that would actually kill it because you've got all those roots underneath where it spreads. Unlike the teasel where it's got a tap root, and once you kill the top, you've pretty much killed it, especially in the second year. So, but it's a point well taken. Phragmites is becoming a big problem, and it's something we should look at. And of course, buckthorn is always a problem. A little harder to manage in some ways, but that's also an issue.
And I would also say that teasel isn't as much of a problem because we have been investing $10,000 a year into its removal, and to backslide on that is, you know, not, I mean, it has made a difference. You know, I notice as I'm driving through other communities that don't mitigate it, and it's ugly. And I'm relieved that we are doing something. So I think that we do need to add Phragmites to our list. I think that's, I mean, a further conversation, definitely. But I would hate to lose the ground we've made on the teasel.
I'm glad we're having this conversation. And thank you, Greg, for pointing out the percentage of state roads versus county roads versus private roads that the mitigation has taken thus far. And that I never stopped to think about that. And I don't know why, I never asked because I didn't think about it. Why did we start with those roads? Number one, first question. The second one, I don't, our grant money, when we developed the fund was for.
Are you done?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Rita's still talking. Apparently some people are having a hard time hearing her.
I haven't been able to hear her all night.
So you've been cutting in and out a little bit here and there, Rita. Now I'm hearing you perfectly fine, but not everyone is.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time hearing you, but when you're ready, I can answer your first question as to why we treated the roads we did.
Yeah, that and why the Park District, why the grant money that maybe the money's not coming from the right spigot. It was grant money for, you know, concerts and I think cultural kinds of things was initially our thinking, not that it couldn't be expanded. But if we're paying for it, I don't know why the Park District is the conduit versus us hiring Tallgrass. They do a wonderful job. And I agree with Jenny. I think that if we stop with the teasel mitigation, it kind of just flushes the money we've already spent because you have to stay on it once you start. I hope you can. So I welcome this conversation. It's like, wow, well, let's think this thing through and have a goal and be of the same mind on where we're going with this.
So as far as why the roads were treated the way they were, when this program began about 4 years ago, we knew that $10,000 would not treat everything. So we prioritized the state roads because those are the ones which are most visible. And we wanted to get those under control as much as we could. Once those started looking better, and it was more of a spot treatment rather than getting rid of a lot of monoculture, then we could expand to the county roads because those were the second most visible roads. Last year, we expanded to the local roads. So we're trying to use I say we, I'm referring to the past tense when I was at the Park District. In the past 3 years, we were trying to use the money as wisely as we could because there's a limit. There's $10,000. Park District chipped in some extra as well, but you know, it's not unlimited funds. So we wanted to hit the major roads, the secondary roads, and the local roads in that order while remaining as much within the budget as we could. So because the state roads have been treated for several years now, they won't require as much effort. And that's why we could expand to the other roads. So I hope that answers the question as to what was done and why it was done that way.
Thank you.
And you've been really quiet. Do you have any thoughts? No? All right.
You're
Okay,
moving.
I'll just, does anyone want to make a motion to approve this?
So move.
Okay, moved by trustee O'Reilly,
Second,
seconded by trustee Micho. You got Pete Kent. And
That's
that's
okay.
a roll call.
Trustee O'Reilly,
Aye.
trustee Micho,
aye.
trustee Borowski,
Aye.
trustee Kritzmeyer,
Aye.
trustee O'Connor,
We can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
No. Is it a no?
Yes, it's a no.
Okay, no.
I don't know why you can't. I would rather have a more comprehensive,
Okay.
reasoned, thoughtful, I don't know why we're going through the park district. So I'm confused at this point. So I'm just going to say, no, not.
Okay.
I'm for getting rid of the Phragmites. I'm for getting rid of Teasel. I'm just not sure the way we're doing it is appropriate.
Okay. Thank you.
and trustee Tanucci.
That'll be an aye. And then Rita, just look at document 06E. That explains a little bit why we're going through the park district instead of us doing it ourselves. But that we can certainly discuss that in the future, as well as looking at these other things like Phragmites and buckthorn, and try to develop a more comprehensive plan.
Thank you.
It suddenly occurs to me that it's somewhat worrisome that no one from the park district is here with the request for this funding.
Yeah, I expected Jan to be here. I don't know if something happened that prevented her from attending, but she was planning on being here.
Because are they reluctant to do this program? Or do they really want to carry on with it?
So I can't speak for the park district after the end of July, because I don't know. Certainly while I was there, we were more than willing to handle this program. I knew that Jan had submitted this request, and I expected she would be here tonight. So I've not gotten any indication that they don't want to do it. I didn't ask that specific question of them, but I think she just.
Well, the thought occurs to me that they're a little embarrassed about the 5,000. That's just a guess.
Maybe, I don't know.
So anyways, the motion's carried 5-1. With COVID, I don't know anything's possible these days, but I think it does, Greg, I think it puts something back on our plates to look at, the other invasives. What's our plan for those, right? So
I'll make sure we start looking for a development of a comprehensive plan.
and Rita's PC's tilting or something.
And I'd be glad to help with that however I can,
I'm sorry.
based on my background at the park district.
Trying to find my microphone.
Thanks, Ken.
No.
Sure.
All right. So anyways, I'm going to move us on unless we want to talk further. This is the next one is consideration of resolution appointing Jean Sylvester as the chair of the Village of Long Grove Architecture Commission. So, it's always interesting around the holidays. Lynn Cohn sent her resignation letter to me right before Christmas on 12/23 with an effective date of January 1st. So I immediately called her and spoke with her, and she came back and, said, hey, it's time. I'm going to be leaving. But I asked her who should her replacement be? And she recommended basically Jean Sylvester. And I called Jean up that next week as soon as I could, the next week after Christmas. Had a great conversation with her. She's here tonight. She has a passion for architecture, historian, a preservation consultant. She's been in Long Grove 21 years. She's been 5 years on the architectural commission. She sort of, espouses what Long Grove's all about, right? And the architecture of the downtown, the diversity of the architecture throughout our village. I learned some things talking to her about some 1950 homes that we have that are of historical significance. So I think as you read her application, it goes far beyond architecture, the fact that she's an attorney and everything else. So I am so pleased that she's willing to step up and take on the role as our new chair. And I'm just hoping that you'll accept my nomination.
Hey, Bill, I'll move to approve that appointment.
I would second, and very impressive resume.
Yes.
Okay, so moved by trustee Borowski, seconded by trustee Michaud.
Trustee Borowski,
Aye.
trustee Michaud,
Aye.
trustee Kritzmeyer,
Can't hear Ann either.
Rita, oh, that was Ann, yeah. Come on back. Ann.
Aye. No?
thank you. Trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
trustee O'Reilly,
Aye.
and trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Congratulations and thank you everyone for supporting me
Thank
here.
you.
Jeannie, we're looking forward to you. in
Thank
that
you
new
for
role.
coming, Jean.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Very much.
Thanks,
Um,
Gene.
And I do want to just, as long as you're here in front of us, there's one thing that I've been bouncing around for a while. And a matter of fact, I was going to send a note to the board. I never did. But, when we had the big solar discussion a long time ago, we had always talked about maybe bringing a project to the Architectural Commission about how we could integrate elements of green, in particular solar, into new construction. And so I don't know how the board feels about that, but I wanted to put it out here that there may be a way to maybe amend our code or suggest things that would be, green with solar that the AC could take a look at it from more of an aesthetic perspective. So it isn't just panels strapped on a roof, that it's seamless and becomes part of the architecture of new homes. So I don't know what the board feels about that, but I just thought I'd put that out there as long as you're here tonight, because it's something that's been on my mind for a while now, especially since I got involved in this consortium commission for the renewable energy with Vernon Township.
So I presume we're not talking about a mandate to use solar.
No, we're talking about that, we're going to have potentially some new builders coming in or new developments coming in. No matter how we slice it, there's going to be new developments coming in. But what are we doing to amend our codes or provide recommendations so that they consider green in the new construction? So it's just not a strap on after the fact, right?
Oh, okay.
We were one of the first communities that did the sprinklers, right? Is this something we can do? And I just thought I'd put it out there as an idea.
Let's try to get ahead of something.
Yeah.
What would success look like? Like, what is the actual question you're asking, Bill? I'm not opposed. But I think it would be better if we crystallize like what's the actual question here, like how to encourage developers to incorporate more green principles.
Well, yeah, I mean, so this is how you could make it really broad, or I was getting more particular about just the element of solar today. Maybe we just make it that narrow, that face it, that, solar energy is something that a lot of residents are looking at. I know some of it's subsidized today, but as a new developers coming in, why couldn't we ask them to make that part of their architecture and an element in the new designs of their buildings, so it just becomes part of the new building, right? And just like we did sprinkler systems. So I want to keep it contained to that, but you could get into furnaces and you could just take this every which way, right? And I'm not sure that we want to do that.
Limit it to solar. I think encourage is the right word to use, because I think if you really want to open up a can of worms, you would start mandating something. And I don't know that anybody wants to do that.
No,
but I
would not support that.
But I understand. It's pretty controversial. But instead of specifying solar, I think you really could encourage LEED certified contractors and LEED certified buildings. And that is really, I haven't looked into it, but I would be happy to look into it. And I think that is more of an umbrella term that encompasses a lot of different green solutions. And I know that contractors and architects and buildings actually apply to become LEED certified, which contain, or the certification process includes a number of different factors. Solar panels may be one of them, but there are other things that would fall within that category or that criteria. And so that might be a better way of approaching it.
Yeah,
thank you. I was actually going to ask.
Neighbors object to them. I actually read something recently that someone is working on inventing, or they're working on prototypes of individual roof shingles that would be solar panels, which would be much more appealing than those gigantic panels.
Well, and that's
they
kind of where I
already
was
make
headed
them.
with that too, right? That's where I was headed with this, not the gigantic panels, the strap-ons. I mean, something that's just part of the
Something-
structure, looks
Yeah,
natural.
it's incorporated into the construction.
But I like the way you're thinking there. So,
And just real quick, I saw a show last week where there's a new subdivision that they use geothermal, a shared geothermal system for the entire neighborhood. And that was a kind of a unique and cost-efficient way of doing that. I don't know if that's something we would consider.
well,
It
that brings
really
up a whole
is
nother
the
fun
future,
discussion.
I
but-
believe of architecture right now. It is what all the young architects are working on and working toward, is this exact topic. So I really applaud your thinking for that. I think that would be fabulous if the village encouraged it.
Yeah, that would be good, just as long as it's not a hard mandate.
For sure. For sure.
Well, and I don't know how we crystallize it, Ian, to your point. I just had an idea. I threw it out there because I've been wanting to write something on this for a while. And Gene's sitting in front of us. So I'm like, okay, well, here's the time. In fact, when Lynn wrote me that note, I'm like, I've been wanting to call you and bring this up to you about how do you think we should approach this? So I don't know if it makes sense as you get settled in, if this is something maybe you could come back to us with, and even Manager Jackson with, here's some thoughts I have on how we might want to approach this. And then maybe we can run it by the board and say, hey, let's go this route. I don't know. You tell me.
It might be something that Vic could answer. I don't know if other villages or municipalities in the area have legislation or provisions in the legislation that encourage this type, or what type of incentives they offer or anything like that.
I was going to mention that there are some communities that have offered discounts or rebates on permit fees when certain types of certifications are reached. I think platinum, gold, I don't know if they all the way go down to bronze, but certainly the platinum, gold, and silver, I know have gotten discounts in some communities with their building permit fees. So that was an approach taken. There certainly are myriad other ways that this can be done. I think where I've been involved, it's been more on the carrot rather than the stick, but no prohibition from using the stick. I think that just hasn't been the ethos that's been driving this.
That carrot approach would be actually somewhat consistent to the way we were encouraging investment and improvements in the downtown area too.
I think this is a great idea. Looking back on our approach to the solar issue, and we were so ill prepared that it would be nice to be out ahead of this because it's coming.
Well, thank you for that. I think we'll just try to get, maybe Greg can help put some shape to this, working with our new chair, right? You're muted, by the way, too.
I would welcome the opportunity to do that. I did renewable energy in Central Illinois, and plus we got some great resources up at College of Lake County about for LEED certification and LEED type buildings.
I think Stevenson High School also, I think they were working on something. I don't know if they're LEED certified, but I think their addition, the latest addition might have been built under these criteria. I don't know that the whole building is, but I know they were working on that also.
It's exciting.
It's absolutely it is absolutely the trend right now. And it, like you said, it is coming. And it's a good thing. So.
All right, well, I'll stop here. Welcome and thank you, right, to your new role.
Thanks, thank you.
Thank you very much. We do have 2 vacancies on the commission. So, and as I spoke at length, we do need, with Bill, we do need an architect on the commission. I am not an architect, but if any of you know an architect or a civil engineer, we could really use that expertise.
And Greg's on it, right?
I sent both you, just prior to the meeting, you and Commissioner, or now Chairperson Sylvester, almost like an advertisement for that position, including the need for an architect and the special skill sets.
Great.
Yeah,
Great.
it's
Are
written.
you gearing that for the newsletter, Greg? Is that
Yeah,
what
yes, I was
Okay.
I was going to ask just to get the blessing on it and then bring it to tomorrow's meeting.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, we need to do that. And it actually says it in our village code, right? Because Jean asked me for the information. So I just went into Municode, pulled it out, sent it to her, and it specifies the skill set that, you know, we need on this commission. So it's right out of the village code.
Okay. Well, thank you for the opportunity. I'm very excited about it.
Well, thank you for stepping up. I really
Yes.
appreciate it. So thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, I'm going to move us along. Consideration of approval of a raffle application for the Temple Chai and waiver of the $25 application fee. It'll be conducted online on February 13th. I know the application said that there was no bond, but then there's an email that says that they do have insurance and do have the bonding. So I don't know if there's any discussion. If there is, I'd be.
My question is, why do we have this fee? We waive it every time. So
I asked that last time, and it was
I know you did.
basically, it makes the document run through, it basically gives us visibility.
So by having a request to waive a fee, that gives us visibility to the upcoming raffle? Whereas otherwise we might not have visibility to it?
That's the answer I recall.
Okay, doesn't make any sense to me, but this it doesn't make any sense
Well,
to
if we
waive
move
it.
to approve it and vote on it, we'll be done talking about it. So I move to approve it.
Second.
Second.
Okay, so it was moved by trustee Borowski, seconded by trustee Michaud. That's a roll call, and I know there'll be a few comments afterwards. This is not done, but please take the roll call if we may.
Okay,
Michelle.
trustee
Oh,
Borowski,
we could have discussion if we need discussion before we vote, right?
If you want, I mean, I think that, you know, Chris, you have a lot of thoughts on this application, and I know this is going to go on for a while because it's every time we have one of these, we say the same things, right?
Dude, I wanted to move it to approval here. I'm good.
Okay,
I'll vote aye.
Move, please take a vote, will you?
trustee Borowski,
Aye.
trustee Michaud,
Aye.
trustee Kritzmeyer,
Aye.
trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
trustee O'Reilly,
Aye.
and
All right,
trustee
motion.
Knuckey.
What? Not yet.
You got to vote. Motion, did you say yes?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you. I still think though that this requires more thought, and we don't have to talk about it tonight, but
More thought to waive it or more thought to not apply it, not have it?
well, we not have it. I mean, I guess it could be one of the choices, right? I don't know if if we don't charge, are people not going to submit their app? I guess, I don't know.
Well, then they don't have a permit.
But then we don't have visibility, I guess, right? I don't know. So,
Visible- what the hell does this mean? I don't get it. I don't get it.
all right, should we save it for another day? All right, I'm going to move us on. All right. Moving right along. What?
Nothing. Talking to the dog.
Talking to the dog. Okay.
I do that a lot.
Did the dog talk back is the question. So consideration of approval of an ordinance amending the liquor code for adding a new class A liquor license for Joni's Pizza at 235 Robert Parker Coffin Road. You know, I actually looked before the meeting tonight at Joni's website. So she actually introduced Mike Oakham, who is taking over the business. And tonight, I believe they're opening tonight. But they're going to transition on her website. It talks about a couple month transition, and Mike will have the recipes. I know I talked to Mike, he'll have the recipes and everything. So it should be very similar to when Joni was running it. So I'm glad that they're keeping the business alive and going, because I know a lot of folks like the food, including my kids, right? So
yeah.
I don't know if anyone wants to or talk about this at all, or make a motion.
I'm just curious, it's going from Class C to Class A. I understand what the differences are. Does that mean that he's going to be having an actual bar set up as opposed to serving alcohol with meals, which is what Joni's was doing?
It's an hour setup. The big difference between the C and the A, and Vic, you can jump in if you'd like, is the difference between no alcohol sales after 12 o'clock and then alcohol sales till 2.
Oh. Is that right? Vic, you're muted. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I have no objection. I was just curious.
All right, yes, we give them different names, but the primary difference is, as Greg said, the hours of operation and the corresponding fee.
Okay.
Does anyone have any comments, or does somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Can I
Okay.
ask a question?
Sure, Rita.
What's the reason for making that change? I understand the hourly part, but it's like, how is what is currently going on going to change?
Well, my understanding is that Joni's was an A license with the exception of last year where they went to a C license, and they were they went to a C license mainly because of the pandemic and dealing with the business issues from there. So that's my understanding.
Okay.
Does that mean that in the future it could be a bar only and not a restaurant? Does it have anything to do with that? In the future, you know, if they decide, okay, no food, it's just going to be alcohol, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but one characterizes a restaurant that can also serve alcohol, and the other is just serve alcohol, from the way I read it.
I would have to check and see. I know a V license requires that you have to have a sale for liquor license. I don't know. Does the A license have a stipulation to have a C? I don't think so. Does it, Vic?
Vic, you're muted.
I'm going back to check right now. Neither of them. No, I take that back. The C does have the specific restaurant requirement. The tavern does not. Give me a moment to check the full code. I'm looking just at the ordinance right now.
But be that as it may, we know that their intentions are to serve food, keep and preserve Joni's, because that's the business here. Does anyone object to it?
No, I don't object. Can I just clarify for Rita's or kind of a dovetail on that? Liquor
Sure.
licenses are they're renewed every year, right? So this is, I mean, we're creating a different kind and we're granting in it, but it still has to be renewed every year, right?
But the license can't transfer. A new owner cannot. The liquor license doesn't go with the business. It goes with the owner.
Right.
The owner. So in essence,
But does it not have to renew?
License. It will next year. Yes.
That's what I said. At the longest time this could apply would be
1
a year.
That's correct.
But you know, the other thing is, who else also has the Class A tavern license? The Village Tavern. Who has this right now?
The Village Tavern does. I'm going off the top of my head. The Village Tavern does. Chatterbox.
Okay.
And I think we've got 3 A licenses, and this is the 3rd one.
Okay.
So and Lucia.
Enzo's does too?
Wouldn't they be a C?
Well, they're a restaurant license for sure.
I wonder if Woodfire does, because they have an actual bar inside.
Why don't we get a report saying who has what licenses?
I don't have it in
Here.
front of. I don't have it in.
I mean, some other time.
Yeah, I don't have it.
absolutely.
I've got it in on my
Sure.
hard drives on my computer, so no problem with that.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So are we? Somebody want to make a motion?
Just as information, if you are interested, we do not require sale of foods with respect to taverns. But if that is a concern, we can always change that for the upcoming liquor license year. I would note that although licenses are renewable each year, which gives us some ability to tweak the operations of each of these licensees, it doesn't mean that we just have the unilateral and unconditional right to say no to somebody. So I think that if we are concerned about a tavern license, the Class A licenses morphing into non-food only, service over a bar kind of activity, we simply change the character of the Class A license going forward. And that will be part of the challenge for those licensees when they apply for renewal in the future.
I don't have a problem. I'm not interested in dictating the kind of business, whether it's alcohol only or food and alcohol. That's a business decision on their part. I just am a little confused on why it makes such a difference.
So maybe this discussion for another time, but we should probably consider, are we okay with having just a straight up bar in town that serves alcohol and is not a restaurant associated with it?
We have other establishments that have the same license, so.
Yeah, so maybe, again, not tonight, but maybe we should consider amending Class A that they also need to serve food, as long as that doesn't affect any existing operations. We're not trying to apply restrictions to anybody to make them stop doing what they're doing today. We're just trying to prevent potentially a straight up bar from opening up, if that's something.
Log Grove, a bar serving alcohol? Oh my God.
We don't have police resources after 11 o'clock, so, we don't want too many bars, right?
Okay, does somebody want to make a motion?
I think I did.
Okay, so it was moved by trustee O'Reilly.
it?
I don't know.
Yes.
And who seconded it?
I'll second it.
Michelle, was that right? We didn't get a second, right?
O'Reilly was the first, Tanucci was the second.
Okay.
That was the
second.
first second, yeah.
Okay.
The
Got
first
it.
second.
You're the first second. Okay. So roll call, please.
Trustee O'Reilly,
Aye.
trustee Tanucci,
Aye.
trustee Borowski,
Aye.
trustee Kritzmeyer,
Aye.
trustee Michaud,
Aye.
and trustee O'Connor.
I
Okay, motion carried. Moving right along, consideration of approval resolution waiving the 120-day waiting period for the demolition of residence located at 4323 Willowbrook Road. This is because they want to, the building's uninhabitable, and they want to build another house on the same property. Any discussion?
The point of that was to allow the Historical Society to weigh in and see if there's anything of significance. Do we have some confirmation on that?
drove.
Wasn't
over
that the
there.
point of the,
You're right. You're
Right. I drove over there today. It's a 1970s house. I can't believe there's anything historically significant about it.
The other side of the reason for the waiver was for any kind of law enforcement to be alerted and to have time to step in, preserve, investigate, look for evidence, whatever. So it wasn't just about Historical Society. It was to give law enforcement some time to know that we're about to rip this down, and if there's anything they needed from it, they should go get it.
Or they could burn it.
Yeah, they could. They could.
Has it been offered?
Skeletons don't burn too good, though.
it just seems like if the request for the waiver, those are the questions we ask all the time. Shouldn't that request just have those boxes checked in that document? Then we don't have to keep asking.
That's a great idea.
We can do that. Making sure I'm on my, yeah, we could do that.
Okay, so does anyone want to make a motion to approve this?
I would. So moved.
Moved by trustee Michaud, seconded by trustee
second.
O'Connor. Trustee O'Connor got it.
Well,
Okay.
wait, so will they have an opportunity? Will the Historical Society, will the fire department have an opportunity?
If you would like to put this approved contingent on the review by police, by public safety and the Historical Society, I personally didn't know, and looking at the code, did not realize that there was a review required. But we can certainly make that happen if that's the board's direction. Sure.
I'm not sure if it was required, Mr. Jackson. I think that was the reason we put that waiver time in place originally. It was just to give people time, some notice to say, hey, if there's anything you need in there or whatever, or if there's an investigation or if Historical Society should be involved, just to give people time to review it. That's really what I thought it was. I didn't think it was mandatory review.
What I will share with the board is that we put up a sign saying that a notice that it was going to be demoed on the property for 21 days. And we also put ad in the paper, a legal notice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that helps.
So you've already had it noticed for 21 days.
Yeah, the ordinance required that. Yeah.
Nobody's ever going to see that.
At the very least, I would hope we could see if the fire department would want it.
We talked about that in the past, and I remember we did talk about it for a specific tear down, and they were not interested.
We didn't waive the days on the Park District on Barbara Turner's house. We held off on that to see if there was anyone who would want it, would have the ability to restore it.
Right, but that's nobody's going to restore this house.
Well, no, I'm just saying that we didn't waive it for them.
Yeah, but they still had to wait and nobody objected, so it got torn down.
Yeah, I just want to say, as somebody who went through this with a building, I had no idea that you have a 120-day waiting period, and you have set up your contractors. And most contractors don't know that this is in place, and you have booked builders, you've booked people that are here demolishing it. I don't understand why we have it. I'm not a fan of it, and I would make a motion to approve.
You already have.
So when people get a permit, they don't know this?
No, we found out when we applied for our permit that we had this 120-day waiting period.
Oh, okay.
The only way you would know is if you had this experience before. And maybe a contractor, if they'd worked in Long Grove, might know that there was this waiting period. But a lot of people don't. And it's like, you have it in your head that you're going to go down a path, you've made plans, and all of a sudden you're like, what? Yeah, 120 days, that's a long time to put your, if you're planning on starting your house construction, right when the ground thaws, but now you can't tear down your house until after winter. I don't know. Anyway, I've made my motion.
That's why the codes are public and people can actually read the law.
Yeah, but most people don't. We know that.
That's not our fault, right? We
Not
can't control it.
our
It's
problem.
not our fault.
As far as the fire department goes, as I recall, this is a fairly heavily wooded area. Might not be suitable for burning.
Then let them say no.
Okay.
The house is in a clearing. It's wooded all the way there. It's at the end of the road. It's in a clearing. I scared 3 deer out of it.
Well, I'm not a fireman, so I don't know these things. So I would ask the firemen.
Okay.
And I would think then if it's as clear cut as you say, they would immediately say, hell no, I don't want to burn this building.
So let me ask this to Vic, or if, so we have a live motion on the table by trustee Michaud, second by trustee O'Connor. Can we amend it to include just to run by the Historical Society and also the fire department if they want to burn it? Can we add any conditions to it?
Sure, we can certainly have the motion to waive it effective and then put it out 10 days so that the notifications to the fire department and the Historical Society and whomever else might have some remote interest can be notified. And if they have an interest at that point, they can make it known, or we can kick it for one meeting and let the notices go forward and then grant the the waiver?
I think it's 3 quick phone calls.
It's what, I'm sorry?
It's 3 quick phone calls. Give them 5 days.
Okay, 5 days. So we would, basically, the motion would stand, with a 5-day period, right, to make phone calls to what, the fire department and whoever else, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is everyone okay with that?
Sure.
Do you want to have, just to make sure we have a backup plan, if one of them say, yes, I want to, use it as a experimental building for whatever, for burning, for rebuilding, do we want to then suspend the waiver to allow that to happen?
Yes. I
We
will.
Probably have to do that.
We have
Yeah.
a right to do that.
But no, we wouldn't be able to force the people to say yes, but we could suspend the waiver of the waiting period. So they'll have to continue to wait. And then the fire department or whomever could talk to them about alternative plans.
That doesn't seem right to the homeowner to me.
Yeah, we can't mandate the homeowner to let the fire department burn it down, can we?
No, that's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm saying is that the village doesn't have to waive the 120 days. And the notice can go out to whomever right now. And if somebody wants to do it, they can approach the homeowner. If we waive the 120 days and the fire department says, yes, we'd love to use this for rescue operation, they don't have the time perhaps to talk to the homeowner about that. So if the idea is we want to ensure that the appropriate agencies have an opportunity to contact the homeowner, then I think that we might want to provide a deferment of the waiver until those entities have been contacted. And if any of them say, yeah, we're interested, the next question is, do we want to have a further deferral so that they might then have a reasonable time to work with the homeowner?
I would not support something that puts the control in the fire department. I would say give the option to them and give a time. And then say if the fire department doesn't get to them within a time, then the homeowner can go. They know what they can plan to. I would not support something where it's like, well, we got to give the fire department time and you got to wait until they do.
No,
I agree.
no,
Right.
that's certainly not my intention.
Then it would seem that
Wait,
the thing.
Bobby, are you agreeing with me or you're disagreeing?
I'm not sure.
I think she's agreeing with you the way I heard it.
I'm agreeing with you.
Hard to tell.
No, she's agreeing with you.
Well, with the holiday next Monday, maybe what we say is that it won't be effective until next Tuesday. And that gives staff an opportunity. I know that there's some shorthandedness there. It gives staff an opportunity to reach out to the appropriate entities. And if they are having an interest, they can reach out to the homeowners. And if they are successful in making a deal, that's great. If they're not, the homeowner still has the ability to move forward with the demolition.
Good.
Okay, so.
So
Trustee
the
Michaud?
motion would need to be amended to extend or to defer the effectiveness until next Tuesday. Next Tuesday.
Okay, Trustee Michaud, do you agree with that? That's your motion?
Sure, yes.
Yes, okay. Trustee O'Connor, do you second that? Still second that motion? You're muted again.
No, well, not according to my laptop.
Oh, okay, we can hear you now.
Oh, all right. Okay. I'll just hold my laptop in the air. My air top.
Your air top, okay. Do you second that motion?
Yeah.
Thank
yeah.
you.
And I remembered the incident. It was the house we owned that we were paying 25 or 30 grand to have torn down. My suggestion at the time was, why don't we burn it down? And the fire department had no use for that.
Yeah, you had the fire department doing it, not the board, right? So.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
All right, so the roll call, please.
Trustee Michelle,
Aye.
trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
trustee Borowski,
I, from personal experience of a house that I wanted to have burned down, the fire department said EPA's put so many regulations in place that they won't do it anymore. Different municipality. Aye.
trustee Kritzmeyer,
Aye.
trustee O'Reilly,
I think.
Oh, jeez.
trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
I believe that motion was carried. Okay. Now we're into the village and president reports. I'll start, so the trustee and president reports. I'll start with mine. Just wanted to point your attention to, I asked village manager to put in the board packet the initial information from the Vernon Township Green Energy Commission. There's also an article in the Daily Herald this week as well. They are trying to schedule another meeting, so I'll do my best to attend it. They had a meeting scheduled for next week and it got postponed. The second thing I wanted to talk about was the task force for the Route 53. They did have the initial meeting on the 20th. I know that trustee O'Connor was there. The way I read that really was more procedural, selecting a chair and a co-chair, a few comments. They're trying to get a second meeting scheduled. Actually, they did just post it. The second meeting is scheduled for January 28th, which is a Friday. I think it's 11 o'clock, 10 or 11 o'clock, coming up on that Friday, the 28th, which I will be able to attend. I want to let you know that through the holidays, I did meet in person with Dominic DiMaggio, mayor of Hawthorne Woods. I had a call with Rhett Taylor. I also had a call with Mayor Lentz from Mundelein. So you had Grays Lake, Mundelein, the four mayors on the commission. They have all agreed to meet. I'm trying to get a meeting scheduled potentially as soon as this Friday in Mundelein, just between the four mayors, just to talk. I can tell you that Hawthorne Woods is, pretty much aligned with us. In wanting to obviously, make sure that the Route 53 right away gets decommissioned. It'd be nice to have some green space in there somewhere where maybe a pathway could go through. They are not supportive of the 120 bypass. I will tell you that Rhett Taylor, from the initial conversations I had with him, is his issue. Certainly he will support dismantling the Route 53 right away or whatever, but he still needs to figure out a way to get east-west traffic through his village. 120, there's really no way to expand along the Grays Lake there, so they have a problem. So that's not part of this task force, but something that I know has been brought up. And then Mayor Lentz, his village is kind of split. But they do want to put some soccer fields and so forth in the right of way. So I think he's, more leaning towards the same thing. And what really, I think it was Rhett Taylor said that we really need the state to come out and say, hey, are they deauthorizing the path there, or or not? Because all this could be for naught. I mean, he was on several of the other commissions in the past, and we seem like we just keep going around in circles. So that's all I have right now. I don't know if that made sense or not, but wanted to share those thoughts with you. Okay, must have made sense. I have, unless there's any questions, I'll turn it over to trustee Borowski.
I have a question.
Sure.
Did Graves Lake, it's not Grace Lake, I'm sorry, what was the 120 bypass?
Oh, it's Grays Lake. Yeah, no, the issue they have with 120 is just that it goes right along the lake shore. There's really no place to widen it. So his comments was, we got to figure out a way to have, to widen that road, or have some way around there so traffic and east-west traffic can get through his town.
And it seems to be, from the conversations that we have heard and the noise in the background, they can't seem to decide if it's a bypass or an overpass. an overpass at that 120 juncture that they're all talking about would save the corridor and accomplish the same thing, where a bypass would take a lot of land, and it would also create, from a bird's eye view, why not take that sucker just north and south up to 120 and be done with it, just like they've always discussed in the past.
And you know, I did not get into that level of detail. I just told you that he was just saying that there is some desire to have some solution to their traffic problem.
Yeah.
And they can't just widen 120 along the lakeshore, is what he was saying. So that's how it's done and what it does, preserving the environmental sensitive areas. He was totally on board with that. He was just saying, I got a problem, I got to fix it, right? So,
Well, and Gray's Lake is further east, obviously, than the bottleneck that's further west. So
right.
Yeah. Okay.
So I had a half-hour conversation. You know, everyone was nice, and we all agreed to get together. And I think we'll find some common ground. I did run it by Vic to make sure we weren't afoul of any open meetings acts or anything like that. So no, we're not. So
that's super. Thanks.
Yep. That's the end of my report. I'll turn it over to Trustee Borowski.
Not much to report. There's a SWALCO meeting this Thursday, so I'll have more to report next meeting.
Thank you. I'm going to come back to Trustee Kritzmeyer because I think you've got some financial reports, and I'm going to save you to the end so we can roll into those. Trustee O'Connor? You're muted.
No report.
Okay. Trustee O'Reilly?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Michaud, I think you have something, right?
I do. So the EDC has been kind of on hold, waiting for us to have our workshop, and that does not seem to be happening or it hasn't happened yet. And they would like, I think there's in the past been a little bit of frustration moving, like they feel like maybe they're going down the wrong path. And so we're hoping to get a little direction from the board on where to focus their energies. I talked to Greg about this, and he, having a lot more experience with EDCs than myself, reached out and kind of put together kind of a punch list of what other EDCs do in other communities. And I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but if you, of those things that other EDCs do, any of those kind of pop out as things you would like to see the EDC focus their energies on? Or I don't know if this is a good conversation tonight, if you're energized to have a discussion, or if you want to think about it and maybe shoot me some emails and I can kind of put it together. But that's where we are. We're hoping to have a little direction from the board.
Anybody want to share any thoughts there?
And maybe Greg, you have more to add. Being more eloquent than I.
I don't know about that, but I provided some discussion and potential action items looking at almost a little over a half a dozen municipalities and successes they've had and assignments that their various EDCs have had. And I put that there simply for the purpose of serving as a catalyst for some ideas that the village board may have. The EDC doesn't meet again until the beginning of February. Am I correct with that, Jenny? So if the board wanted to even take more time to digest these and do some exploring on their own, there certainly could be further discussion in advance via email without violating OMA to Jenny, or it could be discussed further at the next meeting, which in all honesty is going to be a pretty busy agenda as well. But the items I've provided are, I would not suggest that we look for the EDC to take all those on. I think if we find 4 or 5 that they can work on very diligently in the upcoming calendar year, I think that would serve not only the EDC and their expertise well, but it would serve our village board and our community well.
I did. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jenny.
I just did want to say that on that, one of them is social media, and Greg and Mike Elliott and Natalie are talking, and I know that Bobby also was in the conversation that LinkedIn will be up and running and be managed in staff by Natalie, and with some collaboration with Mike and Bobby, I believe. So I think that's one thing they are doing. So that's kind of on their list.
So I don't know if we want to save this and actually maybe even make it an agenda topic for another meeting, because we got this, it wasn't in the board packet, I don't think, over the weekend. It showed up Monday,
just
right?
yesterday.
So I don't know if anyone wants to talk about tonight, or we want to just maybe even put it on the agenda as agenda item to talk about.
In my reading this a second and third time, I think there's some very thought-provoking ideas in it. And from my perspective and the history of the EDC, I think it's terribly important that we focus on, say, 3 things that they can do and accomplish accomplish something.
Sure.
And so trying to pick out the 3 that are most reasonable to expect success is more than just a glance.
I agree. I kind of knew this was not going to be let's figure it out tonight, but a stepping stone. But I know the EDC would really like some direction, and they look to us to do that. So if you guys could all take some time to kind of maybe make your punch list, and maybe we'll see if they all align, and we can talk about it at another meeting.
Can we actually put it on that? But can we put it on, Greg, on the agenda as a line item, a specific agenda item to discuss?
Absolutely.
Everyone okay with that?
Sure.
Bobby?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Chris, did I hear yes from you too? I didn't hear. Okay. All right. I saw your head rattle.
Yes, yes.
That's sure Rita was okay, or Ann was okay too? Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, Amy Gayton, who I believe is also on this call, just also came to our last meeting and said that last holiday season was a big success for downtown. So the first annual bridge lighting hopefully will continue, and all the sleigh rides were maxed out. So they had great success with the red envelope. They had, I think, a great season. So that was nice to hear.
Well, also, in the paper today, in the Daily Herald, I don't know if you can see that. It's blurry, isn't it? The Coco call was was right in the Daily Herald, right? So they got some good publicity there. So that's pretty cool. So this weekend. So, all right, didn't show up.
And I forgot to tell you guys that we were in a top 10 list for Christmas towns. After we hung up the call, I'm like, I can't believe I forgot to tell them that. Jesse was on Fox News talking about it. I forget who did the list, but yeah, we were in the top 10 places to see at Christmas.
Awesome.
That's good. I think, weren't we at the second position, number 2, as I recall?
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Pretty awesome.
End of report.
All right, Jenny. Thanks, Amy, for adding some color. Trustee Tanucci.
It's getting late. I'll pass.
Okay, then we're going to go back to Trustee Kritzmeyer, and then we can either follow the agenda, or you can give a update first, and then we'll go into the treasurer's report.
There's not much to update. There's not much to update. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay. There's not much to update beyond the treasurer's report and the bill. Greg took a much needed break, and Denise is on a much needed break. And so we'll be re-energizing then in the next week. But really, if you look at where we are on the treasurer's report, where individual line items are off of there, but overall we're in a good place. I know Village Manager Jackson and Denise have been working on adjustments so that we can amend the budget. And we've had preliminary discussions, and then we'll get to more details and bring that back. Shockingly, I'm jesting. We haven't spent any money on snow removal until just now. So we'll probably come in ahead of that unless we get very surprised in March.
So we're at 107% budget coverage, right? Which is great news. It keeps going up. So.
Yep, it's going up as we knew it would. And I don't know from Denise if the transition to all of the new banking is complete or nearly complete, but I knew that was a thoughtful transition plan.
Yeah, we to answer that question, we're just about complete, probably about another 2 weeks. And we've all gone through our training with the bank over the last 3 weeks. So that's all tied up. We're about ready to be totally moved over to Wintrust.
Okay. All righty. So no other report other than I would move that we accept the monthly treasurer's report for December, and that we approve the, I don't know if we would do this all together in two different pieces. No, it's.
Well, let's go ahead and we'll do the first one first. So a motion made to approve the monthly treasurer's report, moved by trustee O'Reilly, seconded by.
No.
I moved it.
Oh, moved by trustee Kritzmeyer, seconded by trustee O'Reilly?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, trustee Kritzmeyer,
Aye.
trustee O'Reilly,
Aye.
trustee Borowski,
Aye.
trustee Michaud,
Aye.
trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
and trustee Tanucci.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, continue on.
Okay, and unless there are any questions, I would move that we accept the December 2021 pay warrant.
So
Second.
moved by trustee Kritzmeyer, seconded by trustee Michaud. That's a roll call.
Trustee Kritzmeyer,
Aye.
trustee Michaud,
Aye.
trustee Borowski,
Aye.
trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
trustee O'Reilly,
Aye.
and trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. We have the next item on the agenda is the approval of the board meeting minutes from the December 14th meeting. Any corrections or somebody want to make a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by trustee O'Reilly, seconded by trustee Michaud. Roll call, please.
Trustee O'Reilly,
Aye.
trustee Michaud,
Aye.
trustee Borowski,
Aye.
trustee Kritzmeyer,
Aye.
trustee O'Connor,
Rita, we can't hear you.
Aye.
Okay, we heard you.
got it. Trustee Tanucci.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. There is no reason to go in executive session tonight. I don't think there's, oh, Vic, go ahead. I can't hear you.
You're muted.
If I might, just as a matter of first, Happy New Year to everybody. But second, to remind you that with the holiday distractions, sometimes we forget some of our basic rules. In the Open Meetings Act, I've had another client that's had some issues, and I don't want us to. So just remember, 2 is company, 3 is a violation, and that includes with respect to emails, unless you're the one initiating the very first in a sequence, BCCs. So the first person can send out an email and BCC everybody, but any reply to that can only be to one other member of the board. It can include the staff because they're not part of the public body, but it can't be BCCing all the board members. That is a violation. So that's the issue that came up in another town. We're having to deal with that. I don't want to have to deal with it here. So Happy New Year, everyone. And just a reminder along the way.
Thanks for that public service announcement. We appreciate it. Greg.
I've got a couple of issues, but one
sure.
of them I just need some direction from the board. We have been offered some property as a donation to the village, and I need the board's direction to go ahead and proceed with discussions on moving that forward to bring it to the board for a final decision. It's a parcel at 7107 Route 83. I believe it's the parcel where that car wash was going to go up by Asajj, up over in that area there.
Osage?
Oh, yeah,
Osage,
Osage.
yeah, same difference,
So is that
Wonder
between the
where
hardware
that
store
was.
and Midas?
Yes.
Yes.
So that spot, that parcel which faces 83, the house that was on there has been demoed. So there's nothing on the property. So if the board is interested,
Wait a
What's in the
minute.
house?
Now, when you say car wash, I'm thinking next to the hardware. But you're talking is that where you mean?
That's the parcel, Bobby.
Next to the
you remember
Midas,
we
next to the
we had
Midas.
that-
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that proposal, I want to say a couple of years back for the car wash.
Everclean.
The owner is now looking to offer that property to the village.
So is that the northwest corner of Osage and 83?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Across Osage from Cutler.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
So I just need some direction from the board if it's okay to proceed with having conversations with the property owner and then have discussions with Vic and then bring back to the board what needs to be brought back to the board for final approval.
Would you at that time bring use and maintenance costs?
Sure, I would bring the whole package together so the board can make a decision on the ongoing costs of that property, certainly.
Nice place for a village hall.
I don't know about that.
Oh,
but-
welcome to the north.
I could walk there, Bill. I could walk there. I'm all in.
I could run there, but
So the only thing I would bring up off the top of my head is we need to make sure we're not inheriting any liabilities along with the land,
Right.
whether it be in, environmental dumps or hazardous waste or anything, we don't want to inherit problems.
That's
Well,
what
there's
Vic's
been
here for.
There's been nothing there for 30 years. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the street has a drainage issue, but I don't know the property does.
so is that, so I guess to the board, any issues if he pursues the conversation? I guess they want to liquidate the
Oh,
land.
go find out.
Yeah.
Go find out.
Let's get the info.
Please do, move forward.
Okay. A piece of information, I'm working on the RFP using the previous 2021 as a template for the water operations and maintenance bid for services for our water and maintenance operations. Hopefully to have that done in a couple of weeks so we can get it posted and get it out for response.
I assume it won't be identical to what we've sent out before.
No, I've got to go through it and I've got to find a good resource for me to tap into to take a second look at it and make sure that there were no poison pills or that there were that the and I don't want to say this with any accusation or anything whatsoever. That's not my intent. It's to make sure that it wasn't drafted for the purpose of one company having an advantage over another company. So, so I just and I need the expertise to take a look at that because I don't have it.
The last bid was before I came on the board, but
Before I came on the board.
there were no bids, right? There were no bids last time.
That's my understanding. That's correct.
Yeah, there were none. The RFP went out. Nobody bid on it.
So was there something in there that chased companies away? Maybe that's along the lines of what you were saying, Greg.
Yeah, and I won't know until I have somebody look at it. So, and then other than that, I can send a memo or I can discuss it now to the board about the update on the ARPA funds.
Yeah, no, just bring it up right now if everyone wants to stay on for a few more minutes.
The ARPA funds, we've gone through this evolution on how you can spend them. At first it was infrastructure, second it was infrastructure, and then you could definitely use it to offset the cost of public safety services if you wanted to do that. The Fed, the Treasury on January 6th just released new rules that basically say you can recover revenues, and any revenues that are below $10,000 will be streamlined, reported, and there will not have to be a requirement for documentation or justification for those revenues. And those revenues will also allow you to use the funds for essential delivery of services, including maintenance, repair, and replacement of facilities. So, and I just got in, I was on the DECO NEU call yesterday, and then I received an email this morning just to confirm, because there were a number of us in that room or in the Zoom call that were questioning this because it was such a dramatic change. And but what this does is opens up a whole nother group of options for the board to consider in as we look to what we would spend those ARPA funds on. And I don't know if Vic has heard anything different from his other units of government, but again, this happened Monday was the call. Today we got the email. So.
And your suggestion is it could be as possibly used for an expansion to our village hall.
Yeah, I've got an email to that effect from the state, and I'm just dotting a couple I's and crossing a couple T's, but all indications and talking to my colleagues in a couple other municipalities, that's exactly correct.
So some new options for us to potentially use that money.
So what I'd like to do then is for an upcoming meeting or even before a meeting, send out communication to some options to the board about options for consideration, including the Lake Michigan water, the costs for public safety services that we had during the pandemic with the sheriff's department, as well as potentially using this money for facilities. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Greg. Any questions for Greg?
Nope.
If not, does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go with Kent moved it, seconded by Trustee Borowski.
That's fine. Thank you.
Sure.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Tanucci,
Aye.
trustee Borowski,
Aye.
trustee Kritzmeyer,
Aye.
trustee Michaud,
Aye.
trustee O'Connor,
Can't hear. Yep, now we can.
Aye.
and trustee O'Reilly.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night,
Happy New
Everybody.
Year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.